Hello and welcome to Performance Check. My name is Rob and it's been a little while since I've posted anything on this channel, but today marks the beginning of a brand new project that I have wanted to undertake for some time. Since the beginning of lockdown, I have been running a brand new game of Dungeons and Dragons for my old gaming group. We used to play together back in the day, and while it has been a pretty awful time overall, this has been sort of a diamond in the rough, and it's something that I want to talk about and something that I'd like to share on the channel. This video is going to act as a sort of prelude to the campaign journal, and in it I hope to tell you about the players that are involved, the world that the game will take place in, and some of the tools that I've been using to prepare and to run this game during a lockdown where you can't be near anyone. So I've been running this game for my old gaming group, which I guess is my current gaming group, once again, which is a delight to say. First of all, there's Mike, who played Droskor Hammerstone, a name some of you might recognise if you watched the old D&D stories. There's Dom, who was sort of a drop-in and out player in our old gaming group. And then there's Craig, who is a complete newcomer to Dungeons and Dragons, who we've been on about playing with for ages, and we finally managed to convince him because basically he had no excuse and nothing better to do. So running games online isn't a new concept to me. However, I was very aware that the style of play that those players are used to is very much using a grid and exploring locations, old school dungeon crawl. I was apprehensive about running that sort of game without the proper tools. Now, before we started this, Mike had run a short campaign for myself and Dom entitled The Watch, which is completely different from The Watch that you might find on my channel. This was two grunts serving law and order, bringing justice to the Shatter Peninsula, which is a province north of Mainrealm. And in this game, I was introduced to Roll20 for the first time. Now, I don't mind admitting that I had written Roll20 off fairly early with my online gaming experiences. I mean, it's just not useful for the sorts of games that I'm used to playing online. You know, I'm used to playing Theatre of the Mind over Google Hangouts as it was, and now later on Zoom. That sort of display, that sort of tool just isn't required. But with this gaming group, it definitely is the way that they like playing, and it's the way that I used to play D&D all the time, with grids, with dungeon tiles, and with miniatures that were painted. You know, that's just what I was used to. So it has been really nice to delve back into that with a gaming style obviously suited to it. And we played this short campaign that Mike had run, and I just fell in love with the tool. Now, I'm probably preaching to the converted, but it really is a fantastic bit of kit if you know what you're doing. I say if you know what you're doing, it's not even that hard to teach yourself how to use Roll20. I think it's easy to learn, difficult to master, I would say. And I have been trying to teach myself more techniques to create dynamic, usable, fun, and interesting maps. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm a sucker for maps. I've been really enjoying using Roll20 as this new way of preparing and running games for people. The one thing I will say is that Roll20 does take an awful lot of time, especially if you're running a long running campaign like I have been for 13 sessions now. It does take an awful lot of prep time, but luckily we're in a lockdown where I have plenty of time to spend upon it. It's given me a new outlook on running games. Now I'm going to talk about the world that this game is set in. I've mentioned on stuff that I've done online before, the shared setting that me and the other players came up with years and years ago called Mainrealm. Well, this campaign is taking place in the same world but on a different continent, known as Varelian. I've done this because I feel like I felt like it would be a good idea to have a fresh start for everyone, introduce them to a new world so everyone is on an even footing, considering we have very experienced players playing alongside brand new players. I want them all to be introduced to this place at the same time, so they're, equals. Now, alongside this realm being completely new for the players, I wanted this realm to be new for the entire world. Varelian is effectively my allegory for the new world, the lost land that has only just been discovered, only spoken of in legend. It is said that this is where the elves originally hailed from when they first stepped from the Feywild, and then, after some development here, got upon great ships to travel to Mainrealm. This place has been lost for a long time, but now it has been rediscovered, and it is a new land of opportunity filled with secrets and unexplored ruins and all sorts of delicious stuff, adventures to take place in. As with a lot of games that I run online, I had prepared a document to give a vague impression as to the world that these players will be exploring, and that would hopefully inform them to allow them to make decisions about what their characters should be. This is what I wrote for them. The dawn of the 5th era marked a notable increase in the exploration of the larger world. The Dominion, inheritor to the fallen empire, reached eastward from Mainrealm to the faraway provinces of Varelian. It is a land steeped in mystery and forgotten threats, ripe with ancient secrets and valuable assets to exploit. The Dominion built quickly and effectively across the eastern shore of Varelian, raising walls and battlements upon foundations left by a long-forgotten culture. They were swift to establish trade, and over decades the city of Landfall flourished. Its surrounding settlements, however, are far less affluent. The development of this colony has been staggered by the vast and untempered wilderness of Varelian, a seemingly endless landscape of deep forests and towering mountains. While incredibly dangerous, this largely unexplored province presents boundless opportunities to adventurers, mercenaries, and the forces of the Dominion itself. Now you must step into the unknown and take your place in the continuing legacy of a brave new world. So with that description, I was very much hoping to inspire the players to think, well, what do we want from a brave new world? What could our characters be hoping to get from arriving in a place such as this? Now, like I mentioned, this is very much traditional D&D, and they are very much looking for opportunities to explore, to find treasures and ancient artifacts, and to improve themselves as individuals, as heroic beings, or perhaps less heroic beings. We'll discuss in later chapters of this campaign journal. The final part of this prelude, I will just very briefly introduce the characters. And I don't want to say too much about them because they very much developed as we've played. Like most D&D characters, I believe the best way to play the game is to have a rough idea of who you are and then to discover who you are as you play. Don't give me paragraphs and paragraphs of backstory. Don't give me all of that, because it's much better if who you are is discovered and implemented in the game that we're playing, not the game that's happening in your mind. Although, admittedly, most games of D&D happen in your mind. In fact, all of them happen in your mind. First of all, we're going to talk about Craig's character. This is his first ever D&D character, and he is known as Carlos Ungalida, the samurai. That's right, this game includes a samurai. Craig was fascinated when Mike was telling him stories about a manual in D&D 3.5 known as Oriental Adventures, and in it, there was a variant of a samurai class. The more Mike explained it, the more Craig was fascinated by this idea of being a samurai, but in a fantasy world. And so, taking inspiration from this, we decided that Karatur which I believe is the name of the Oriental adventure setting, now exists in our setting. That's who he is, and he is on a mission for revenge. Craig very much took inspiration from games like Sekiro, from Software, and I believe Ghost of Tsushima, and the Kurosawa films. He really liked the idea of being a Ronin samurai on a mission for revenge, and for him to discover if revenge will be worthwhile for him as we play out this great story. We will talk about that a lot in future editions of this campaign journal. Just a mysterious samurai warrior, fantasy samurai warrior from Karatua who has his eyes on revenge. Next up is Ashbourne Briar, who is played by Dom. He is a human druid. Ashbourne was raised in a circle of druids who live in the forests that border the edge of Serador, which is a part of Main Realm, filled with lush plains and epic glades and beautiful forests. But Ashbourne's circle of druids are very cult-like. They very much believe in keeping themselves to themselves, and outsiders have no place among their ranks. However, they have a stalwart tradition that must be upheld at all times. The tradition of pilgrimage, whereby every member of this druidic circle must go on a great journey and bring back something of great worth to the circle. Ashbourne, wanting to get as far away from the cult-like druidic circle as possible, has decided that he's going to bring back something from the New World, a journey that will take a very long time. While he is open-minded as to what he will bring back, it must be something that resonates with his love of nature and his new abilities of being able to transform himself into different creatures of the wild. And last but certainly not least is Alden Remelstein. He is a human factotum. Just to explain what a factotum is, they are effectively a mixture of a bard and a rogue. They are a jack of all trades but a master of none, and they may use their inspiration points to spend to emulate other abilities that belong to other classes. Very interesting, very adaptive kind of class to play. Alden, played by Mike, is he plays him as a scholar, a man of learning who is constantly trying to understand the nature of divine magic, the secrets of the arcane. He's always trying to learn new skill tricks and the tools of the thieves' trade. He is a man of many subjects, but like I say, a master of none. He is on a journey of escape. He is hoping to make a new life for himself away from Main Realm. He found a ship that is chartered to the New World, and he is very much the first on board that ship, for he is being hunted by forces that he has dabbled in that he cannot truly ever escape. And those are the three protagonists of this tale. So that's the prelude to the campaign journal done. Hopefully you have a good idea of the players and the characters that they will be playing, and indeed the setting that those characters will be exploring. As I mentioned, we're already 13 sessions in, and already they've caused quite a stir, and they've made some great friends and some terrible enemies. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I hope that all of your performances are up to standard. Guess I'm still doing that.